Imagine the quiet after betrayal. The world keeps moving, yet your heart is frozen in a single moment, the moment they hurt you. You trusted, you loved, you believed, and in return they left you bleeding, not with weapons, but with words, actions, silence, all wrapped in the cruelty of pride. They didn't just hurt you, they wore their arrogance like a crown. They wounded your soul and then walked away tall, proud, and satisfied. You saw them parade their false victory, smiling as though they conquered something worth celebrating. But deep down, you knew they hadn't conquered strength. They had wounded purity. They had mistaken your kindness for weakness, your love for foolishness, your loyalty for something disposable. And with every step they took away from you, chest high and head held even higher, they believed they had won. But pride is a dangerous thing. The higher they stand in arrogance, the harder they fall in reality. And you, my friend, may feel broken, discarded, and humiliated today, but heaven never sleeps. God has been watching the silent chapters of your pain unfold. He has seen every tear hidden behind your smile, every sleepless night wrapped in questions of, why me? And every moment you bit your tongue to preserve peace, even as they crushed your heart. And while they walked away proud, convinced of their victory over you, God began writing the next chapter. The chapter where karma whispers louder than pride, where life bends the arc of justice back into place, where broken hearts are mended and the proud find themselves crawling back, not in victory, but in defeat. This is not a story of revenge, but of divine order. You don't need to retaliate. You don't need to lower yourself to the level of those who hurt you. Your quiet suffering has already echoed into the ears of heaven. The same ground they stood tall upon will become the floor they crawl across, shattered by the very arrogance they once celebrated. The beauty of life, when guided by God's unseen hand, is that justice may seem delayed, but it is never denied. You may feel abandoned, but you are never overlooked. The universe may allow them to run for a season, but the same road they traveled, away from you, proud, unrepentant, and untouchable, is the road they'll crawl back upon, humbled, broken, and empty-handed. They hurt you and walked away proud, but pride before the fall is an ancient law woven into the fabric of existence. Let them walk. Let them believe the story is over, for when God writes the final word, those who stood tallest in cruelty often fall hardest in consequence. There's a strange kind of power in silence. It's the quiet strength most people mistake for weakness. When they hurt you, they didn't just walk away. They strutted, heads high, hearts filled with pride, convinced they had crushed you beyond repair. They believed your silence was defeat. They thought your tears were signs of surrender. But what they never understood is that sometimes silence is the loudest conversation between you and God. You stayed quiet not because you lacked words, but because you carried dignity. You didn't shout your pain to the world, you didn't expose their cruelty for applause, and you didn't lower yourself to their level. You absorbed the storm they created and walked away carrying your wounds in silence. And while they believed they had the final word, heaven had already begun writing the next chapter. You see, God's eyes never close. He saw every hidden bruise they left on your heart. He witnessed the humiliation they enjoyed, the lies they told, and the false pride they wrapped themselves in like armor. But pride is not armor. It's glass. It looks strong, but it shatters the moment life's pressure grows heavy. And the same God who allowed you to endure in silence is the same God preparing to humble them publicly. Never doubt the strength of staying silent when provoked. God listens in those moments when your lips are sealed, but your heart is screaming. He saw how they rejoiced over your pain. He heard the laughter behind your back, the proud stories they shared about how they broke you, and the pride they displayed as if destroying you was a victory. But here's the truth the proud always forget. No one builds a future upon another person's suffering without paying the price. No matter how high they walked, no matter how proud they seemed, the higher pride lifts them, the harder life will drag them down. And the silence you held with grace will one day echo louder than their proudest words. God never overlooks the quiet suffering of a pure heart. Your silence wasn't weakness. It was an invitation for heaven to intervene. While they celebrated, God took notes. While they stood proud, God prepared the fall. While you stayed quiet, God was working. They believed hurting you made them powerful. But real power never comes from cruelty. It comes from how you rise without seeking revenge. And because you stayed silent, because you chose dignity over destruction, God is now arranging the moment when their pride collapses and they crawl back through the ashes of their own arrogance. You stayed silent, but heaven wasn't silent. God saw it all. The universe has a language, and it never forgets to deliver justice. You may not have seen it yet, but the wheels of karma never stop turning. They hurt you and walked away proud, thinking the story was over. But life is patient. Justice is patient. And karma? Karma never loses an address. You see, they believed because they caused your pain in silence, because they wore their pride like a shield, that the consequences would never find them. But the energy we release into the world always circles back home. They sowed betrayal, cruelty, and humiliation, and no amount of running will protect them from the harvest that's coming. Karma doesn't knock when it arrives, it breaks the door down. It shows up at the peak of their pride, at the height of their arrogance, and reminds them that no one escapes the weight of their actions. You may feel forgotten, but karma has been tracking every step. They may seem untouched, but the universe keeps a perfect balance sheet. When they hurt you, they left you carrying the weight of heartbreak, confusion, and suffering. But what they didn't realize is they were also stacking bricks of consequences upon their own future. Karma isn't rushed, it's precise. It arrives at the moment when they least expect it, when their pride has blinded them completely and it strips away everything they gained through hurting others. No one escapes the laws of life. They might relocate, they might run, they might pretend, but karma knows their address. It knows the cracks behind their smile, the fear behind their arrogance, and it waits patiently to deliver its lesson. And here's the remarkable truth. You don't need to chase them. You don't need to explain yourself. You don't need to lower your spirit to fight back. The pain they caused became their seed, and life has already begun growing their harvest. They will taste the bitterness of their own actions, and when they do, they'll remember the very person they tried to destroy, you. Karma doesn't miss, it finds them every time. When they hurt you, they believed they were walking away victorious, as if life itself was a straight line leading them far away from the consequences of their actions. They thought they had broken you, and the damage was final. They walked away proud, heads high, shoulders lifted, their ego fed by your pain. But what they forgot, what pride always forgets, is that life is never a straight line. Life is a circle. What goes around always comes around. You see, in their arrogance, they believed the story ended when they walked away. They thought leaving you behind was the conclusion. But life doesn't work that way. The very pain they handed you, the wounds they inflicted, the humiliation they celebrated, it's all part of a circle that never fails to complete its turn. And while they walked away feeling superior, they were walking straight into the consequences they can't outrun. It's easy for them to feel powerful in the short term. It's easy to boast, to lie, to pretend, to inflate their pride, thinking they escaped accountability. But the universe moves in seasons, and every season completes itself. The season of their false victory is temporary. The season of their consequences is inevitable. Life bends itself to justice. You may feel today like they're far ahead, successful, untouched by guilt, unaffected by the pain they left behind. But circles don't forget. The same ground they stepped upon in pride is the ground that will rise to humble them. The same energy they threw at you will return to their doorstep, multiplied, undeniable and crushing. While they walked away proud, life kept its quiet rhythm. They didn't hear it, but every step they took away from you, they were walking closer to their downfall. Every ounce of arrogance they carried added weight to their future regret. Life is patient, but it never forgets to close the circle. And you stood still, watching, broken, questioning why they seemed to win. But you stood with your integrity intact, your soul still pure, your pain witnessed by God Himself. You didn't need to chase them. You didn't need to fight their pride with more pride, because the circle of life turns for everyone, and when it completes its path, they will come face to face with everything they tried to bury. The proud always forget the circle until they're forced to crawl along it, broken, humbled, and desperate for the peace they once stole from others. They thought they walked away free, but life is a circle, and no one walks away forever. There's a divine law etched into the foundation of existence. God lifts the humble, but He humbles the arrogant. It's not a theory, it's a certainty that history has proven over and over again. And the moment they hurt you and walked away proud, they signed their own invitation to that humbling. You see, when they wounded you, they believed their pride was untouchable. Their ego grew with every lie they told, every tear they caused, every insult they whispered behind your back. They convinced themselves that arrogance was power, that belittling others was strength. But true strength never flows from pride, it flows from humility. And those who rise on the backs of others, those who inflate themselves by crushing hearts, always meet the same fate. God brings them down, not with rage, but with undeniable justice. God has always lifted the broken-hearted. He restores those who walk humbly, who endure pain without turning bitter, who trust His timing instead of forcing their revenge. And He humbles those who build their lives upon arrogance, who strut through the world believing they are above accountability. You, in your humility, chose the higher path. You bore the pain in silence, carried your wounds in dignity, and resisted the temptation to strike back in anger. And because of that, heaven has already begun lifting you in unseen ways. Your strength is returning, your peace is being rebuilt, and soon your story will be the proof that God exalts those who endure with grace. But for them, the proud, the cruel, the arrogant, the fall is coming. It always does. The pedestal they place themselves upon is cracking beneath their feet. Their pride blinds them to it now, but soon they'll feel the ground collapse. And when they do, the same arrogance they clung to will be the very chain that drags them down. God lifts the humble. He never forgets those who suffer quietly. And He humbles the arrogant, no matter how untouchable they seem today. There's a quiet strength in the heart that has been shattered but still beats with hope. You know this strength. You've carried it. They hurt you. They humiliated you. They made you question your worth. And still, your heart, though bruised and broken, continued to hold on. It's not easy to survive heartbreak, but broken hearts, when placed in God's hands, heal stronger than before. But arrogant hearts, they don't bend, they don't soften, they only inflate with pride until life shatters them beyond recognition. When they hurt you and walked away proud, they believed your pain was permanent, but their arrogance would last forever. What they didn't understand is that hearts built on humility may break, but they also rebuild. They grow back wiser, softer, more resilient. But hearts inflated by pride, they are fragile in ways they'll never admit. Pride gives the illusion of strength. It convinces them they are untouchable. It blinds them to their flaws, shields them from reflection, and keeps them walking in false confidence. But life doesn't allow that blindness to last forever. Eventually, the weight of their choices, the betrayal, the cruelty, the games, cracks through the surface, and when it does, the very pride they trusted becomes their greatest downfall. You, with your broken heart, may feel weak right now. You may feel abandoned, unworthy, forgotten. But broken hearts that lean on God always find healing. Your suffering carved out space for wisdom, compassion, and unshakable strength. The pain that almost destroyed you is being transformed into armor, quiet, invisible, but powerful. Meanwhile, their arrogant hearts are walking on borrowed time. They don't see the cracks yet, but life sees everything. The pride they carry so loudly will not protect them forever. The facade will crumble, the arrogance will shatter, and when it does, they'll face a pain far greater than the heartbreak they left you with. You will rise, maybe slower than you hoped, maybe with scars, but rise you will. Because broken hearts heal. But the proud, their fall is always harder, and their healing, it rarely comes, because arrogance resists it until it's too late. So don't envy their false strength. Their proud steps are walking them toward a heartbreak of their own, one they'll never be ready for, one they can't escape, one they cause themselves. There's a peculiar truth about life that the arrogant always forget. Doors may close, but life has a way of turning them right back around. When they hurt you and slammed that door behind them, they believed it was permanent. They thought walking away proud, leaving you broken, was their final exit. They slammed the door without looking back, convinced they'd never need to face you again. But life is a circle, and doors have a strange way of reappearing when least expected. The same door they closed in pride, they'll find themselves standing before again. Only this time, they won't be walking through it as a victor. They'll be knocking, desperate, broken, stripped of the pride they once flaunted. It may not happen today or tomorrow, but life keeps perfect records. They may have slammed that door, thinking they were walking into something greater, believing you were beneath them, insignificant. But every choice echoes. Every moment of cruelty builds the pathway back to humility. You, left standing behind that slammed door, felt discarded, unwanted, forgotten. But God was standing with you. He saw the rejection, the betrayal, the arrogance, and while they celebrated their exit, He was preparing your rise, quietly, steadily, without noise. And as they chased false victories, they forgot that pride is temporary, but life's lessons are inevitable. Doors don't disappear, they wait. And the same door they slammed in your face will one day be the door they must face, with regret in their eyes and the weight of consequences on their shoulders. Life will humble them, it always does, The proud can run, they can hide, they can build new stories, but they cannot outrun the doors they closed with cruelty. And when the time comes, they'll return, not in pride, but in pieces, forced to knock upon the very space they once devalued. You don't need to force that moment. You don't need to chase justice. Just heal, grow, rebuild, because life is already working. And one day, they'll stand on the other side of the door they slammed, praying for the grace they once discarded so carelessly. There is something they never imagined when they walked away from you. They never pictured your rise. In their arrogance, they believed the damage they caused was final, that your pain was permanent, that their betrayal sealed your fate. They stood tall, proud and untouchable, wearing their cruelty like a trophy, convinced that your silence confirmed their victory. But what they failed to understand is that those who walk with God cannot be destroyed. They can only be transformed. They thought they ended your story, but they only ended a chapter. The suffering they inflicted, it didn't kill you, it refined you. It bent you, broke parts of you, but it never took away the most powerful thing you carry, your ability to rise. When they hurt you, they imagined your downfall would be swift. They believed your spirit would collapse, your confidence would dissolve, and you would live the rest of your days broken, humiliated, and defeated. They built their pride upon your pain. But God does not abandon those who suffer in silence. He watches, He waits, and when the time is right, He lifts His people from the ashes, not quietly, but undeniably. Your rise is not just survival, it's restoration. It's a divine reversal of the humiliation they celebrated. It's the quiet rebuilding of your strength, while they believe they've escaped accountability. And when you rise, you do so with scars that tell the story of endurance, not defeat. You rise with wisdom carved from pain, with strength born from suffering, with a soul that has walked through fire and emerged untouched by bitterness. But for them, the proud, the arrogant, the ones who hurt you without remorse, their path is the opposite. They walked away believing they had won. They strutted through life, carrying the illusion of control, convinced they would never face the consequences of their actions. But pride is fragile. It looks powerful, but it crumbles when reality catches up. And reality always catches up. The very same pride they flaunted will be their undoing. Life does not allow arrogance to go unchecked forever. It may seem delayed, but the humbling is inevitable, and when that humbling comes, they won't return to you standing tall. No, they'll crawl back, not because of love, not because of guilt, but because life has stripped them bare, their pride shattered, their lies exposed, their false strength broken beneath the weight of karma's return. Picture the moment. The same person who mocked your tears, who laughed behind your back, who believed they stood above you, now crawling back, desperate, empty, and consumed by regret. They will come searching for the peace they so easily destroyed, for the love they discarded, for the dignity they shattered. But they won't return as they left. They'll return as fragments of the proud person they once pretended to be. And here's the undeniable truth. Your rise will be their reminder. The sight of your strength will haunt them more than any words you could ever say. They'll see you standing, thriving, moving forward. Proof that their betrayal did not break you, but built you. That the pain they delivered became the foundation of your transformation. Your rise is not for revenge, it's for restoration. It's God's way of showing the world and them that no betrayal goes unseen, no cruelty goes unanswered, and no humble heart stays buried in suffering. You will rise, not just from your pain, but above their reach. You will rise with your head high, your heart healed, and your future brighter than they ever imagined. And as they crawl back, broken, ashamed, stripped of pride, they will carry the heavy realization that hurting you was their greatest mistake. The door they slammed, they'll beg to open. The love they rejected, they'll crave. The peace they shattered, they'll chase. But by then you'll be standing too tall for them to reach. This is the rhythm of divine justice. The humble rise, the proud crawl, and those who suffer in silence are lifted by God Himself. You are not forgotten. You are not defeated. You are not defined by what they did to you. You are defined by how you rise from it. Let them crawl back. Let life humble them. But you will rise, stronger, wiser, and untouched by the weight of their betrayal. You will rise while they crawl back broken and ashamed. Life has a way of exposing the truth when we least expect it. They hurt you. They walked away proud, convinced that your suffering was their victory and your silence was their proof of control. But pride is short-lived, and arrogance always writes checks that life eventually forces them to cash. You stood there, broken, questioning, humiliated, but God saw it all. He saw the tears behind your strength, the silent prayers behind your quiet endurance, and the dignity you carried even when your heart was shattered. And now the story flips. They walked away proud, but karma does not forget. The same doors they slammed, life will force them to face. The same peace they stole, life will deny them. The same pain they caused, life will deliver back to them, doubled, undeniable, and inescapable. While they crawl back, broken and exposed, you will rise, not with arrogance, but with quiet authority, not with revenge, but with restored strength. You will rise with the undeniable proof that God always lifts the humble and humbles the arrogant. Your scars will become your armor, your wounds will become your wisdom, and your pain, that becomes the foundation of the unshakable soul you are becoming. They hurt you and walked away proud, but now God lets karma make them crawl back broken. And that, my friend, is divine justice.